The West has a bad habit of commenting on the internal affairs of other nations, and they will only learn their lesson when other nations start doing the same with them. These were the remarks of External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar on the query of Western interference in Indian issues. Like this, he has been repeatedly demolishing these arguments of these ill-researched hit jobs and smear campaigns against India. In addition to that, MEA recently called out Germany for preaching India on our internal issues and reminded such nations to mind their own business. Time and again, India has been paying the West in kind for poking and preaching to it on what to do and how to do it. Now, sitting in Washington, D.C., Union Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has schooled the Western intellectuals, narrative setters, and biased intellectuals for indulging in a negative campaign against India. Thank you for joining me today. My name is Savita Mishra, and this is TFIPost. Dr. Jaishankar's strong remarks on the West, like the ones stated above, should not be read as arrogance and hot-handed approach to handling things. As a matter of fact, India is a firm believer in debate and dialogue. So if the West comes up with the right intentions to seek clarity on any issue, the Indian side engages them in meaningful discussions and irons out their preconceived notions, wrongful presumptions, biased opinions, or genuine doubts on those issues. In a similar kind of debate, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitaraman pulled off both jobs with great finesse. Firstly, she dispelled the negative Western perspective on the treatment of Muslims in India. Secondly, she highlighted how cut off these reporters are from reality, especially the ones who write harsh commentary on Indian affairs while sitting in their echo chambers in the US or other like-minded countries. Assuming the fact that the intentions of the West were right in seeking clarity about the treatment of Muslims in India, Minister Sitharaman settled the debate once and for all. On every aspect, be it religious or cultural, or in getting basic amenities, education, and job opportunities, the prospects and status of the Muslim community have greatly improved in India, vis-a-vis Pakistan and many other neighboring countries. Sitharaman highlighted the inclusivity of India and tolerance for every sect of every faith on the face of the earth. In an interaction with Adam Posen, the president of the Peterson Institute for International Economics, Ms. Sitharaman categorically stated that Muslims in India are doing much better than those residing in our neighborhood Western neighbor, Pakistan. Mr. Posen asked the minister about disqualification of Rahul Gandhi's membership and Western reports that Muslim minorities are being subjected to violence in India. To this end, Minister Sitharaman drilled logic into these agenda setters in the Western media. She exposed the biased reporting in Western media that paints a false perception of reality. Such write-ups claim that the Indian government is making the lives of Muslims in India difficult. However, the Muslim population in India is the second largest in the world, and the fact that their population is only growing underscores the fact that these write-ups couldn't be more wrong. Sitharaman said, I am quoting, India has the second largest Muslim population in the world, and that population is only growing in numbers. If there is a perception, or if there is in reality, that their lives are difficult or made difficult with the support of the state, which is what is implied in most of these write-ups, I would ask, will this happen in India in the sense that the Muslim population will be growing than what it was in 1947? There is a plethora of reports that clearly describe the plight of minority communities within Pakistan. The demographic numbers of these communities have been rapidly declining since the partition and the materialization of Jinnah's evil plan in the Islamic Republic of Pakistan. Minorities are routinely charged over minor allegations and receive grave punishments, even death penalty. An institutional framework is there to carry out the purge of these dwindling minorities and to exterminate them completely from Pakistan. Blasphemy laws are used to settle personal animosity, with victims presumed guilty immediately and in many cases lynched or cheered to death. Minister Sitharaman hinted at the plights of minorities and how in reality state-sponsored terror is unleashed on minorities. In a reply, Ms. Sitharaman added, I am quoting, as opposed to, let us say, I take the name of the country and therefore the contrast can be sharper. Pakistan declared itself an Islamic country but said its minorities would be protected. However, every minority there has been dwindling or has been decimated. Even some of their Muslim sects have also been decimated. She further stated that violence prevails against Mujahirs, Shia, and every other group that is not accepted by the mainstream community, probably the Sunnis or the Punjabi elites. However, things are completely different in India, where anyone can find all Muslim communities going about their businesses and getting their children educated. Fellowships are being given by the government. She dismissed the rhetorical allegations of victimization of Muslims in India. She remarked that the claim of violence against Muslims is a fallacy. She asked a pointed question and stated, "Tell me, between 2014 and today, has the Muslim population dwindled? Have the deaths in any particular community been disproportionately high?" Issuing an open invite, she threw a humble challenge to such agenda-driven intellectuals to visit India and prove their point. Ms. Sitharaman even announced that she will host such intellectuals. At the public event, Finance Minister also talked about carrying the needless burden of emerging markets. She also appraised on the query whether these negative perceptions affect investment in India or capital flows. She stated that the answer to these lies with those investors who are coming to India, and they have been coming. And as somebody who's interested in receiving investments, she only said, "Come have a look at what's happening in India," rather than listen to perceptions being built by people who have not even visited on the ground and who produce such baseless reports. She lauded India's remarkable post-pandemic recovery and rationalized it as the resilience of Indians that made them overcome challenges and even personal tragedies. Furthermore, Finance Minister also urged the WTO to be more progressive and fairer. She chastised the WTO and asked it to give space to voices of the countries which have something different to say and not just hear but also somewhat heed. Finance Minister refuted the reports that claim FTA trade talks with UK have been halted. She stated that FTAs are being signed in much faster way nowadays. "We have just concluded one with Australia. Earlier, we concluded with UAE, Mauritius and with ASEAN. We have extended the quota-free and tariff-free regime to least developed countries." In an interaction with PIIE President Adam Poston, Finance Minister demolished the smear campaign of the West and shattered the negative picture of India being an intolerant society towards Muslims. The fact that every sect within Muslim community can only be found at peace in India speaks volume about the Indian culture and how uninformed, biased and ignorant these Western media and intellectuals are about India. Minister's open invite to them will be a life-changing experience for them, as they will find meaning in their life like other foreigners did earlier, case being Will Smith, Steve Jobs, Mark Zuckerberg, among others. Otherwise, their hollow reporting will keep inviting the fury of Indians who are nicely articulated by ministers like Dr. Jaishankar and Nirmala Sitharaman. Now it is up to them to decide whether they want to be crisp-fried like this or become enlightened like David Frawley.